Hi, this is Curious Mystics Podcast, formerly Spiritual Mamas Podcast. Together we explore the mysteries of the spiritual world, sometimes boldly,
Sometimes cautiously.
but always with open hearts
and curious minds.
Let's go. Hello.
Hello, hello.
I'm Aericka.
I'm Kim.
Welcome back.
How are you today?
I'm good. I don't know. I had a really good weekend. I saw my cousin who I haven't hung out for a while, and her daughter and her husband. And we went to the Crayola experience in Pennsylvania.
That sounds like so much fun.
It was a lot of fun. And I went and I brought my 17-year-old and he had a great time. And my cousin's daughter is 6. So it was it was fun for all of us. We had a good time. It was like a science/kids museum, but all Crayola. Mm-hmm. And I got to make a crayon with my actual name on it, which I'm sure you understand. Yeah. I can never find my name. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It was just a fun time. They walked around the town that was really nice and found a little metaphysical shop that had really good energy. And I got a new sage bundle and some jewelry, and it was fun.
Good. I'm glad that you had a good time and got to go connect with family.
Yeah. How about you?
Everything's the same. Everything's good. It was a really nice weekend.
Yeah.
I wanted to start off our grilling season, but I didn't want to have to clean up at my house after, and I didn't want to have to clean up at my mom's house after. So we all went to the park. Nice. Which we've never really done. So we had a picnic.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Yeah. We cooked out here. So
it's a good time.
Nice. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So hopefully that's the good energy that we can just keep carrying through for the next couple weeks.
I feel it. I feel like it's happening.
Mm-hmm. So today we're going to talk about the clairs, and I am still unsure why we haven't talked about this earlier.
That is exactly what I was about to say. I'm I can't believe we've touched on it, but I can't believe this wasn't episode number 3 or something. Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the more well-known ones in a little bit more depth, and then touch on some of the other ones that are maybe less well-known.
Cool.
But in general, when we're talking about clairs, what are they? So these are the psychic abilities that people have and can use to get information about various things. It's how you get downloads. Mm-hmm. There are many different types of clairs, but the 4 main ones are the ones that are the most well-known. So those are the ones that we're going to talk about today. And then just to break it down, so the prefix clair in each of these words refers to the word clear, I believe in French. Mm-hmm. So it is clearly experiencing whatever ability. Clairvoyance is the ability to see clearly. Claircognizance is the ability to know clearly. So we'll go through them all. Before I do, what was your first understanding or experience with any clair?
I mean, if we're talking first any experience, I mean, clairvoyance, I mean, you always hear clairvoyant, oh, that person's a clairvoyant, but in the sense of they could see the future.
Yes.
And I know that is not necessarily the truth, but that's kind of the first ever. And I feel like that's very much in stories and in TV and media, clairvoyant, they can see things.
Yeah.
So that's basically my first.
That I agree. I think that's one of the ones that comes up often is I mean, even thinking about when I was younger and That's So Raven. and she would see, right, all of a sudden just stop and have this vision and see something happening. I am very fascinated by this, but also still, like, for myself, questioning what this looks like. I have been told that that's something that I do possess. I don't know. But it's not in any type of way that, like, I don't see pictures, I don't see scenes, I don't see things happening. But I think we've talked about this before, like, I can't remember which episode, where, like, if I'm laying in bed and I will see something, there's always, to this day, every day, without fail, if I am laying in bed, falling asleep or waking up, my eyes are open, but I am seeing something hovering above my head.
But you also have had some somewhat premonitory dreams.
Yeah. That is not something that happens often. When it happens, I know. When it happens, I wake up and I'm like, this means something. And I don't know what yet, but it means something. And then something will happen. I'll be like, yep, that's what it was. But it's not something that happens frequently.
Yeah, I am clairvoyant. Not in that I see the future in any way, shape, or form. Like, I don't have that ability at all. But I know things.
Yeah.
I know them. Without a reason to know them. Or, like, I will so many times. Just know things. And yeah.
So when we're talking about clairvoyance in particular, we're talking about the ability to see, receive visual images in your mind's eye. So it's not anything that is in your immediate surrounding, and it's not something that's shared by a specific person. So, like, telepathically, someone sending you a message. This is something that you are visualizing. You can have your eyes open, you can have your eyes closed, but it is an internal image that you're seeing. And so in my experience, I am seeing it projected out. I know that it's not actually there, especially if I'm laying in bed and I'm looking up at the ceiling and there's, like, a chandelier hanging over my head. I know that's not there. But it is something that you can visualize in your mind's eye.
I messed up. I am clairvoyant, and that's what I do see things.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've talked about that a ton of times. So I do see things in my mind's eye. We're going to get the other one that I am, the clair knowing.
Claircognizance.
Claircognizance, that's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
In ancient history, clairvoyance was something that was considered to only be possessed by oracles. So people that were divinely chosen to share their knowledge, they would share prophecies, they would have insight after receiving some visual downloads and would share that with whoever. And at the time, in ancient times, that was typically shared with some sort of, like, noble person, a leader of some sort, somebody who could afford to receive these messages from the oracle. Although this is something that has, as far as I could find, it is something that has always been present. So people have always had this ability from the beginning of time. The first recorded instance, the first time that this was documented, was sometime around 1780 something, 1784, something like that.
Okay.
And a French peasant, Victor Race, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but he experienced this clairvoyance. He was being treated for some sort of ailment, and while being treated, he would suddenly go into a trance, and in that trance, he would then verbalize the information that he was seeing about his treatment. And it was information that he could not have known. He was a peasant. He wasn't a doctor. He had no medical training, but he was verbalizing information about his treatment that he couldn't have known, his diagnosis, prescription, whatever. And so then his doctor was able to treat him appropriately.
Interesting.
So at the time, he would do this, and then as he would come out of the trance, he would not remember the experience. He could not recall that he was just in a trance, what he had said, what information he had received. So it was only because he was verbalizing it that anybody knew he was experiencing it. There are different types of visual information. So this is where we're going to talk about what you're seeing and what that means. Precognition. So this is gaining information about things that have not yet come to pass. In dreams, sometimes that may happen. That's what I've experienced, something that has not yet happened, but does come to pass. And I want to clarify for myself, the things that I have seen have not been like major. It's not like super significant in that it's life-changing for me. But it's like, hey, I have this dream about something, and then it happens, and it's like, oh, okay. So this could be like premonitions or downloads while you're dreaming. Retrocognition. So gaining information or insight about something that has already happened. And this is usually to gain clarity on the situation. For whatever reason, the person experiencing this might need to have some more information or understanding about something that has already happened.
Yeah, that's more of what I have the ability to do.
Is that something that comes up for you like during dreams? Does it come up during the day? Does it come up at certain times?
Meditation.
Okay.
Usually.
Okay.
Yeah, or meditation or Reiki. Yeah. Anytime that I'm like in a dialed in state. I don't know what I'm going to call it. I have a question, but maybe you'll get to it, so go ahead.
Okay. Two other types of visual information. Remote viewing. So this is very similar to astral projection. The practitioner can visualize being in a different space and observe from that perspective. So they may be seeing something that is happening. Remember that when we're talking about any of the clairs, we're not talking about something that is in your current space. So this would be projecting yourself into a different environment. And then aura reading. So visualizing a person or object's aura. And this is within the space that you're in because you can see them. It can be outside of that space. That might be more of a precognition or retrocognition happening. So this one's a little bit different in that it is something that is in your space, but you are seeing something that is not visible to, you know, the naked eye or to most people. So
No. So, so I'm curious about like when I am doing spiritual work or Reiki or whatever, I always have those colors that I see. And it usually has to do with I think I now know that they're chakra related.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if that's considered clairvoyant because I'm seeing it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that would be considered clairvoyance because it is something you're seeing in your mind's eye. I'm not sure if it would go under like maybe an aura read, but I think it might because it is the aura maybe related to the chakras or maybe related to, you know, whatever you are seeing in that moment. But
yeah, because it can change. It's usually purple, but obviously because purple is that's the third eye or that's crown.
Purple is the crown and indigo is the
which we talked about, which they're very close. So
yeah.
No, I think my crown, the crown. I am almost always tapped into my crown. So. Okay, interesting. All right.
Yeah. So seeing is just one way of getting information. So let's talk a little bit about claircognizance, which this is the other one that you had mentioned. And this is the ability to know clearly. So this one's a little bit tricky because with clairvoyance, although other people around you can't see what you're seeing, you can dictate, this is what I see.
Right.
With claircognizance, it is just knowing. I know just because I know. There is no reasonable explanation. There is no lead up to this. It is a sudden, inexplicable understanding of the situation.
And it's so hard to explain.
Yeah.
And it is so hard to also listen to it. I've learned to listen to it. And some of it's like, well, is it something like, okay, is it something that you kind of think is going to happen because it's something that could happen?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this something that something's telling you it's going to happen, so do something about it?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard. So like the other day, and this, I don't know if this even means anything, but I had an iron sitting on my steps, on the corner of my steps, because I was going to take it upstairs, but of course I didn't take it upstairs.
Yeah.
I didn't. And the cord was slightly sticking out, not enough even into the stairs. It wasn't even into the stairs. And I got this idea that you need to put that iron somewhere else because someone's going to step on the cord, that like the plug part, and they're going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, the second time I went down the stairs, I stepped on the dang plug and hurt myself.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question is, was that clear cognizance telling me that was going to happen, or was it's something that could happen, so therefore I thought about it?
Mm-hmm. This is why it's one of the tricky ones. Like, how do you know? I think one of the questions that you can ask yourself in these moments where you feel like you just know this information is, where is it coming from? And obviously there is a sudden, unexplicable way that you're getting this information, but is it something I know because I know it, or is it something that I am receiving? Is it a download?
Yeah, is it somebody else?
If I am receiving this information, I am getting this thought, this understanding, this recognition, then that might point you in that direction. Like, I know this because this information has been given to me.
Yeah, it's hard to describe, and it's hard. I know I have it, and I know I'm living it, but I don't know how to describe it to people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so challenging. In ancient times, oracles would also have this ability. So oracles or seers or whatever other terms that people use, they would help to give information, relay information. It's similar to the clairvoyance, it's just no visuals are coming up.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, I've also seen an example of, like, if whenever you go to text, you just have a thought of somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and then they immediately text you.
Yeah.
Or like, I pick up my phone to text you, and you're texting me as I'm about to text you.
Yep.
And we hadn't talked for 2 weeks. Like, that sort of thing. That happens to us all the time.
Oh, that happens to us all the time.
Like, on a weekly basis.
Yeah. I think that happens between you and I. For me, it happens more than it happens with anybody. Mm-hmm. There are times where I'll go to message other people, but that's very infrequently. But mm-hmm. like with you, it's like, and it's gotten to the point that, like, if I think, like, oh, I need to message Aericka, I'm like, oh, there's a reason I have to message Aericka.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we were doing that. We found that way before we even talked all the time.
Yeah.
Like, we would go months without talking to each other, and both of us text each other at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think that's part of there's something there.
Definitely.
Claircognizance is something that can be enhanced by your intuition. So what do you know already innately? What is it that you have an understanding of already internally? And then the sudden download piece. It's not just that I already know this information. So that's the distinction that I was trying to clarify earlier. I may know some information. I may not have a complete understanding about it. And the claircognizance is what gives me that clearer understanding or that direction, that focus. Maybe you had an understanding that putting the iron on the step there could lead to some sort of mishap, but then being very clear about, well, that little piece of cord that's out there, somebody's going to trip on that specifically, even though they really shouldn't.
Yeah, it was like specifically the plug. Yeah. Someone's going to step on that plug and get hurt. Mm-hmm. Weird. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah, so there's that piece where there can be a combination of your intuition and the claircognizance happening. And in addition to your intuition, claircognizance can be very well paired with other clairs. It's a way of expanding or deciphering whatever message you're getting. So if I'm having visuals in clairvoyance, and I have this understanding that, like, yes, this visual is information that I know, and I just know. I know how to interpret it. I know what it means. I know where it comes from. I know what I have to do with it. That piece can be the augmentation of the clairvoyance. In clairaudience, we have the ability to hear clearly. So this is something that I didn't have that much of an understanding of previous to doing some of this research. I often hear about, and I experience, people hearing like a buzzing noise or hearing like, for me, I always describe it as like the sound of electricity. When there's no reason for me to be hearing electricity.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
like, oh, I'm hearing it consistently because there's a lot of electronics around. It's like randomly this sound will start to come in. So I often hear about that as a way of something trying to get your attention. Pay attention in this moment.
Yeah, like ears ringing or whatever.
Yes. But when we are talking about clairaudience specifically, it is not that.
Okay.
That is, okay, pay attention in this moment. Clairaudience is a very clear hearing of the message. So you are receiving sounds that are not in your immediate surrounding, not shared by a specific person. It's not a telepathic experience. But it is a very clear message. You are hearing what you need to hear straight out. I don't know if I can frame that in any other way, but like if I'm asking you to go get something and you can hear me as clear as day as this, that is what the clairaudience experience is like.
Is that like in a, like I've heard people be like, yeah, I was sitting there and or I was walking and I heard don't, or something like that. Is that it, or is it only it, I guess, or is it like if you're in a meditative state and you ask a question and you get an answer?
Yeah. If that voice is not yours.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And so hearing in similar to like hearing in your or seeing in your mind's eye, it is something that you can hear. And so but nobody else can hear it. So it is not something that's in that environment. But it very much sounds like you're hearing it in that moment.
Okay. Then I don't experience that as often. But I get answers more visually. Yeah. But I have had it. I mean, and you could tell it's not your voice, it's not your cadence, and it's for me, it's usually short answers.
Yeah. Something that just needs to get that message out, but very clearly. There have been many documented cases of clairaudience across time, but some of the ones that stuck out as like ones that I know and that I'm sure that a lot of people know, Moses receiving the 10 Commandments. That was something that he heard and was able to communicate. Joan of Arc hearing messages on, what attacks they need to do or what battles they need to fight, which ended up leading the French to winning a battle at Orleans during the 100 Years' War. So those are two that are very well known of people receiving messages very clearly. They are hearing something and then relaying that, and that leads to some major change for people.
Do you have clairaudience? Have you experienced that?
I have not. I haven't experienced any clear messages. Like I said, I know that there's something I need to be paying attention to at times. Like I will hear that electricity, and in those moments I will like make note of, okay, what's going on with me or what, and I don't always come back to what that actually means. Sometimes later I'm like, okay, this is why I needed to pay attention, but I haven't heard a clear voice or message.
Okay.
So the piece that's really important to highlight here is, yes, they are very clear and it is not yours. The voices and messages are not intrusive. They're not commanding in a negative way. Like if you hear a commanding voice and that is scary, it is off-putting, it is commanding you to do something that does not feel authentic or aligned, that is not clairaudience. And I think it's really important to highlight that because we can very easily slide into psychosis. We can very easily slide into something else going on. So you should not be hearing distressing, negatively commanding messages or voices when you're experiencing clairaudience.
Yeah, like for example, for me, I was doing a journey and
Hey friends, we just wanted to take a moment to remind you all that you can interact with us on social media. We can be found at Curious Mystics Podcast on all platforms.
And if you haven't already, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share so that we can keep showing up for you guys with new weekly episodes and content. Thank you for hanging out with us so far, and stay curious. Asked for healing for something, and at one point I asked my teacher how, and she said, let go. Like, I clearly heard, like, let go.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's just one example, but yeah.
Yeah. So you can hear the message, and that in that instance, I mean, I don't know if it felt commanding in that, but in those instances, it can be commanding, like, this is what you need to do. But if you feel like that's aligned with you, that's different than if it's like telling you something that you're like, that doesn't feel right. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Like, if I'm holding onto someone's hand, they tell me to let go, I think that's a little bit weirder. Like, I wouldn't, I don't know. Like,
yeah. So you just want to lean into like what you're experiencing in that moment too. But the next one that is the last of like the well-known ones that we're going to go into, and even this one isn't it talked about in this way, but clairsentience. So the ability to feel clearly. Those who can experience this ability can receive physical or somatic information through your body, and they are often referred to as empaths. So we hear this often, and I think many people, if not most people or all people, do experience this to some extent at some point in your life. There is somebody that you feel so connected to that you can feel clearly for them, with them, about them in some way.
I saw an explanation that those were two different things. There's empaths, and then there's clair sentience, and they can be together, but they aren't necessarily together. They're like different things.
Yeah, so they are often referred to, like, people often interchange them, but they are not quite the same. So it's important to recognize what you're experiencing to know, because, and this may shift for some people depending on what their definition of like an empath is. And maybe some people are using it more to refer to clairsentience and accurately so, but this goes beyond the ability of picking up on cues of bodily, body language or tone of voice, which that might be more empathic. Hey, I can walk into a room and recognize that there's tension in here. The vibe is off or something like that. This is not about that. Clairsentience is about experiencing or sensing like emotions and experiences of others and other situations, things that are outside of yourself. You can be in a room with someone and be clairsentient and be empathic. You can also experience clairsentience and not be in the same environment as someone, not be in the same situation, not be in the same vicinity, not know that person.
Yeah. I think we talked about this a number of times, but like feeling like the metaphysical shop I went to this weekend, like my legs got super tingly and I was like, ooh, okay, So yeah, I've definitely experienced that. Or your hands get super hot, or in certain situations, like because when you're coming into contact with something or getting a download of some sort, and we talk about get tingly all over, that sort of thing.
Very much feeling that. So, and in the times that we've talked about that, I don't feel that as clearly when I walk into a metaphysical store, and I have to like really tap in for that. What I experience is more of outside of that, like when I am talking to somebody either on telehealth, so we're not in the same room, or when I am hearing about somebody's experience or something like that, and my body will get that physical sensation that's like letting me know, this is meaningful, or this is something that you need to pay attention to, or this is whatever is happening. But I often feel that in my extremities, my legs. So yeah, like many people can be familiar with the idea of like walking into a room and there may have been a heated argument that just happened. And so there's a lot of tension and, that can be a very empathic experience. If you take that experience and then individualize it, you walk into that space and you can recognize, hey, this person might be angry, this person might be confused, and pick up on both of those. Or even beyond that, let's go into a public space. Let's walk into a coffee shop, and now I can sense a specific person in this coffee shop that I have no connection to.
Yeah. You tap into that person that you really like. That person, I don't know, is sad or something, and you just walked in. You didn't even look at them. Yeah.
So in that sense, that is clairsentience, and it is a much deeper type of experience as opposed to empaths. So this one can be a pretty common experience for people to have, and they may not necessarily know. I think if you are already tapped in as an empath and can sense certain things without having all of the information, then you may be able to extend that. You may be able to hone that in and practice and be a lot more in tune with clairsentient experiences. So, but doing that practice, figuring out where that message comes from, what it means, what do you need to do with it, that can take time and practice.
I heard a medium talk about how she knows sometimes what the person is trying to tell her, like the person that's passed on is trying to tell her, like she'll feel a tap on her shoulder, or she'll feel, I don't know, like her hand hurting because the person had a hand injury, whatever the situation. Something like that.
Yeah. And so in that same way, I think there's, with clairsentience, there might be the levels that you gauge it, right? It's like, okay, here's my empath level where I can recognize what's going on in this room, and then I take it a step further, and maybe I can individualize that and take it a step further, and maybe I can connect with somebody who's not in this room and take it a step further, and somebody who's not on this plane, like
exactly,
in this realm. So there may be some levels to that, but so those are like the 4 main ones that most people know. Some of the other ones that people aren't as familiar with, but they can still experience. If you think about clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, I mean, even claircognizance to some extent, they can be very much sensory experiences. So the same can apply and be put towards other sensory experiences. Clairgustance is the ability to taste clearly without physically ingesting anything.
That's
You've experienced that?
No, it's wild to me though.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know anybody who's experienced that, but I tend to go straight to like something awful. Like, I don't want to taste anything bitter. And if something bitter just appeared, I would be like, ugh, I just want to be able to taste what I want to taste.
I again, with mediumship, I've heard that a lot. Like, they're like, oh, I'm getting a bitter taste in my mouth, so I know that this is happening, or whatever.
Yeah, that one's interesting. Another one is clairolfaction, so the ability to smell things that are not physically present or in the immediate environment. This one is one that I think in therapeutic practices, when I'm practicing therapy with a client, I will sometimes try to get people to tap into this as a way of measuring how connected they are to their somatic experiences. So it's in combination with, hey, can you visualize a lemon? Okay, describe it to me in as much detail as possible. Can you feel the ridges of the rind of that lemon? Okay, can you smell that lemon? And so, like, I'll try to put them all together, or smell something very pungent. Like, what is, something that is very easily detectable, and you know what that smell is. So clairolfaction is smelling.
My family, I've never experienced it, but my family swears that when my grandmother is around, like she's passed, that they smell chicken soup. I have not experienced that, but many of my family members have said that.
That's very interesting.
They know that like grandma's around. So it's like, oh, that's interesting.
That also brings up a really good point, is like, with all of this, you learn, and it's very individual, you learn what certain messages might mean. So it's not always like somebody else might be able to, experience that and not have any idea what does that mean. Why am I smelling chicken soup?
Right.
But your family members have identified like, oh, this is the significance of this. So, and that's probably because that's how she's sending that message.
Which I think because also multiple family members have experienced it, not just like, oh, when I smell chicken soup, I think of grandma. You know what I mean? Like, I think, So
Clairtangency is the ability to download information by holding or touching an object.
That's cool.
Yes. Also not one that I have witnessed very often in other people or that I hear much about, but yeah, being able to hold something. So this, I often think about the way that, what's her name? Phoebe in Charmed she would touch objects and get premonitions by touching objects. And so that would be a combination of clairvoyance and clairtangency, having to physically hold that object in order to get the information.
There was another TV show that had a person, was she a medium? She could see ghosts. She was like a detective, but could see ghosts. Oh my gosh. It was in the 90s, early 2000s. Maybe like the 2000s had a thing about, magical women.
Yep. So that was it. That was the time. And then the last one is clairkinesthesia. So the ability to perceive physical sensations without any reason in the immediate environment.
So how is that different than clairsentience then? Not sentience.
Yeah.
Right? The hand?
Yeah.
Touch it? Yeah. How's that different?
Oh, wait. Clairtangency?
So there's clairkinesthesia.
So
and then there's another one that you feel things.
Clairsentience you can feel.
Okay.
So clairsentience you can feel, but it is an internal experience.
Okay.
If I feel grief, I know that this person is feeling grief.
Okay, got it.
Where clairkinesthesia is a physical sensation.
Okay, so I have definitely experienced that.
Yeah.
I thought that was the same. Okay.
I think there's probably a little bit of nuance there where it could be like a subset of, but it's like, yeah, so feeling that physical sensation might be a little bit more of a, they fell down and hit their knee, 10 miles away. And so I can feel that. In my knee is now hurting. And like, why does that hurt? Or something like that.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard the difference between those two before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those would be all of the clairs. And then the other piece that, is helpful, it's important, is like, how do you cultivate these experiences? How do you explore them? How do you strengthen them? How do you connect with them? And across the board, I'm going to say some things that we've said often. So if you're not already doing this, meditating is a big one. Big one. That allows you to go inward. And when you go inward, you can connect more clearly with any of these experiences. If you want to cultivate one in particular, you can find endless amounts of videos online. And, how do I cultivate claircognizance, clairvoyance, clairsentience, whatever. So pick a meditation and do it. And I think we might have mentioned this before, recently I have become less interested in guided meditations. So I will set that intention now for myself and try to do those meditations in that way. But meditating is a big way of connecting.
Yep. I feel like it's like the gateway. It's the gateway drug. It's the gateway. It's the gateway to all things.
I agree. This is why I think it is so important to find your way of meditating. Find the thing that you can like drop into the most, because the way that it looks on TV or the way that it looks for a lot of people is not necessarily the only way, and it doesn't mean that that's the right way or the way that you have to do it. You have to find a way that it works for you.
Yep.
Journaling. So the journaling can be helpful for you to document what you're experiencing and then reflect on it, kind of dive deeper. And so that can also help with learning the language of the messages. If I'm seeing this, what does it mean? Especially with something like that's not claircognizance, because claircognizance is I know and I just know. But in all of these other ones, you're receiving messages.
Yep.
So am I seeing something? Am I seeing stars? What does that mean? Am I seeing plants? What does that mean? Am I seeing a symbol? What does that mean? So
Yep.
learn the language of the message that you're receiving. Practice. Find ways of implementing these practices, and maybe there are specific psychic exercises to explore each clair. If I want to hone in on clairvoyance, let me practice visualizing things I already know. Let me practice visualizing people, experiences, places I already know, because that's going to help me to develop my mind's eye. And then when I receive messages, I can more easily connect to that experience. If I want to practice clair audience, maybe I need to close my eyes and try to pick up as many sounds in this environment as I can. How subtle can those sounds be? What can I pick up? What can I clarify? So those are some things to consider when you're wanting to cultivate or expand upon these.
Could you ask your spirit guides
Absolutely.
to help with that?
Absolutely. So I mean, I would probably tie that in with meditation and like starting there, and then, you know, inviting them in, creating that container for them to come and ask for, hey, send me a message. We've talked about that before.
Yep.
If I am looking to get specific types of messages, then send me XYZ, and I can interpret it that way. So definitely asking your spirit guides for some help there. And I think also being able to be okay with not knowing, be okay with being wrong, be okay with, it's practice. You practice over and over until you're comfortable with it. And it's going to come in the way that you need it to come. I've heard people talk about asking for that type of clarity. Hey, you keep sending me this message and I don't know what that means. Send it to me in a different way.
Yeah. I've been getting on my Instagram feed a lot like this. Person will put up a card and say how many people are on the back of this card, or how many, you know, what's the number on the back of the card? Is it two of spades, whatever. I've gotten a couple of them.
Yeah. You know, just trying to like practice doing that a little bit more. Like, I need to receive the message here, so let's tune in and see if we can get it. So yeah, the long overdue episode on clairs.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I have a lot, and I think now I'm listening to you, like the explanation and stuff, I'm like, well, maybe I don't understand exactly what is going on. Things are happening, but like now I feel like I have to kind of maybe re-look at that and be like, okay, what is actually, am I getting like downloads, or do I just know? Because I definitely just know a lot, but then I also feel like I get like downloads as well.
Yeah, but the clairs can be a way of getting downloads. So you may have multiple things going on there, right? Like, I just know these things inherently. I just know these things through my ancestors, through my spirits, through the collective subconscious. That, like, I just know these things. And also I am getting downloads that might be confirmation, that might be highlighting that I need to focus on this in a different way, or things like that. And there's a pretty wide understanding that if you're practicing, you could hone in on any of them.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely heard that, like, most people tend to have like one or two that are very innate, and then you can cultivate from there. So yeah.
Yeah. So play with it, see what you get, and see if you can push it a little bit more than what you're comfortable with, or highlight a little bit more of like get a better understanding of what the messages mean that you're receiving.
So I have a question. So, like, going back to, I think we've talked about like gifts. Some people say that everybody has gifts. Some people say not everybody has gifts. What do you think? Does everybody have at least one clair?
I think so. Because I don't think it's possible for you not to have at least one. And usually if I had to highlight that, I think it would be like clairsentience and claircognizance. I think those two are probably the most common, and people are just not cultivating them, not paying attention to them, not using them in the way that they need to. And that's fine. Not everybody has to, right?
Yeah.
It's totally individual, but I think everybody has access to them.
Yeah. Like even my husband, who's like the least spiritual metaphysical person out there, he'll always be like, my spidey senses are telling me.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sensing we need to blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And he's usually pretty right.
Sense away.
Yeah. Like spidey sense away.
Yeah. I love that, like, especially with the clairs, I love that it is a way of connecting the worlds, right? Connecting your spiritual experience, your metaphysical experience with your physical. These are, most of them, somatic experiences. So let's lean into that. Let's tune into the sensory that you're, the sensory experience you're having, and then connect that to these other pieces. Because we talk often about how, like, it's mind, body, soul, spirit. It's all of these things together. It's not just one. We're not just living one lane here.
Right. Exactly. And if you can have help getting through life, then then use it.
Yeah. That, I mean, not to go on too long and not to go on a rant, but for me, that has been something that has been very highlighted lately, because this idea, I went through a period of time where I was very much in the headspace of, you come into this world alone, you're going out of this world alone. And so you might as well learn to be alone, despite being surrounded by people. But that thought process very much helps to alleviate some of that pressure. And it's like, no, you don't have to be alone. You can open yourself up. And for me, it's not just open yourself up spiritually and know that you can be receiving messages and have somebody walking with you and have guidance, but also you can open up to the people around you. You don't have to like bottle yourself up. And
we're all connected. So use it. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So let us know what your experiences have been, what you want to practice, what you find when you practice. Reach out.
Do you have any cool experiences of being clear or something that you're like, what the heck happened?
Yeah. Tell us your stories. We want to know.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, until next time, stay
curious.
Bye.
Bye.